was standing in line at the grocery store, mentally calculating whether I had enough time to grab milk before my daughter Emma's soccer practice, when my phone buzzed with a message from a number I didn't recognize. You deserve to know the truth. Check the attached file. My thumb hovered over the screen. Spam, probably, or a phishing attempt. But something made me tap it anyway. Maybe the specificity of the message, maybe just curiosity. The image loaded slowly, pixel by pixel, and when it finally resolved, my cart of groceries suddenly felt like the only thing keeping me upright. It was a screenshot of a hotel reservation confirmation. The name on the booking read, Jessica Brennan, my wife of 12 years. Check-in date, last Tuesday. The same Tuesday she'd told me she was driving to Portland for a dental conference. The reservation was for a boutique hotel downtown, 40 minutes from our house in the suburbs. But what made my stomach drop wasn't the lie about Portland. It was the booking details. 1 king bed, 2 guests, romantic package with champagne. My hands started shaking. I abandoned my cart right there in the cereal aisle and walked out to my car, ignoring the cashier calling after me. Sitting in the driver's seat, I stared at that screenshot until the words blurred together. Jessica. My Jessica, who still kissed me goodbye every morning, who'd made love to me just 3 nights ago, who'd been planning Emma's 11th birthday party with the enthusiasm of a Pinterest influencer. The phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number. There's more. She's been using a separate credit card. Check your home office, bottom drawer of her desk, behind the file folders. I'm sorry. Who was this person? Why were they telling me this? But even as those questions formed, I was already starting the car, already pulling out of the parking lot. Emma's practice could wait. This couldn't. The drive home took 12 minutes that felt like 12 hours. Our house, a modest 3-bedroom colonial that we'd bought when Jessica was pregnant with Emma, looked exactly as I'd left it that morning. The garden gnome Jessica insisted on keeping by the front door grinned at me stupidly. I wanted to kick it into the street. Inside, I went straight to her office. Jessica was a dental hygienist with aspirations of opening her own practice someday, and she kept meticulous records of everything. I'd always admired her organization. Now that trait was about to betray her. The bottom drawer stuck a little, like it always did. Behind the neatly labeled file folders, insurance, Emma school, house documents. My fingers found an envelope wedged against the back panel. Inside was a credit card I'd never seen before, issued in her name only, along with printed statements going back 6 months. I spread them across her desk with trembling hands. Hotels, restaurants I'd never been to, charges from lingerie boutiques, a jewelry store purchase for $800. I'd never received any jewelry. The pattern was clear. Every other Thursday, like clockwork, charges at the same hotel downtown. Sometimes on Tuesdays, too. The hotel from the screenshot. My vision tunneled. I'd been working overtime those Thursdays, pulling extra shifts at the architectural firm to save up for the family trip to Disney World that Jessica had been so excited about. While I was drafting blueprints and dreaming about watching Emma meet Mickey Mouse, my wife had been... The front door opened downstairs. Jessica's voice called out, bright and cheerful. "Honey, you home? Your car's in the driveway." I looked at my watch. 2:47 p.m. She wasn't supposed to be back until Emma got out of school at 3:30. My mind raced. I quickly shoved the statements and credit card back into the envelope, replaced it behind the folders, and closed the drawer. "Just got back," I called down, surprised at how normal my voice sounded. "Forgot something." I met her at the bottom of the stairs. She was wearing her scrubs, her dark blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, looking exactly like the woman I'd fallen in love with in college. She smiled and stood on her tiptoes to kiss my cheek. "You okay? You look pale." "Just a headache," I said. "Rough morning at work." She touched my forehead with the back of her hand, her brown eyes full of what looked like genuine concern. Want me to get you some aspirin? I can pick up Emma from school if you need to rest. No, I've got it. I'll be fine. She kissed me again, this time on the lips, and I had to force myself not to pull away. Okay, well, I'm going to change and start dinner prep. Mrs. Holloway canceled her afternoon appointment, so I actually have some free time for once. I watched her climb the stairs, her movements easy and relaxed, completely unaware that her world was about to implode. Because that's what I'd decided in those 12 minutes driving home. I wasn't going to confront her yet. I was going to find out everything first. Who he was. How long this had really been going on. What else she'd been lying about. And then I was going to make sure she lost everything she'd risked our marriage for. My phone buzzed one more time. The unknown number again. His name is Tyler Ashford. He works at the dental supply company. They've been together for 8 months. I can prove all of it. Call me when you're ready to know everything. 503-555-0147. I saved the number and deleted the messages. Then I went to pick up my daughter from school, wearing a smile that felt like it might crack my face in half. The number sat on my screen like a loaded gun. 503-555-0147. My mystery informant had sent it with Tyler Ashford's name attached. The man sleeping with my wife. I stared at it for a solid minute, thumb hovering over the digits. What was I supposed to do? Call him? Confront him? Threaten him? The idea felt absurd and dangerous in equal measure. This wasn't some movie where the wronged husband shows up at the other man's door with clenched fists and a speech prepared. This was real life, and real life had consequences. But I also couldn't just ignore it. Jessica was in the shower upstairs. I could hear the water running through the pipes, that familiar sound that had been part of our domestic soundtrack for over a decade. She'd be in there for at least another 10 minutes. She always took long showers after work, claiming she needed to wash away the day's accumulation of dental office smells. Now I wondered if she was washing away something else entirely. I saved the number to my contacts under auto insurance and slipped my phone into my pocket. Not yet. I needed to think this through. Calling Tyler Ashford could blow everything wide open before I was ready, before I had all the information I needed to protect myself and Emma. The anonymous messenger had been right about everything so far. The hotel, the credit card, the timeline. But that raised another question that had been gnawing at me since the first message arrived. Who was this person, and what did they want? Nobody does something like this out of pure altruism. Nobody sends detailed evidence of an affair to a complete stranger without having some skin in the game. Was it Tyler's wife? His girlfriend? Someone Jessica had wronged? Or was it something else entirely? Some twisted game I didn't understand yet? The shower shut off upstairs. I heard Jessica humming something, probably that song Emma had been obsessed with last month. The normalcy of it made my stomach turn. My phone buzzed again. Unknown. You're being smart. Don't call him yet. But you should see where he lives. Knowledge is power. An address followed. 2847 Maple Ridge Drive, Unit 12. I felt my jaw clench. This person was watching me somehow, or at least anticipating my moves with unsettling accuracy. The timing of these messages wasn't random. They came exactly when I was wrestling with what to do next, like someone was guiding me through a maze they'd already mapped out. Me. Who are you? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, unknown. Someone who knows what it's like to be lied to. Someone who thinks you deserve better than what she's giving you. That's all you need to know right now. Me. What do you want from me? Unknown. I want you to see the truth, all of it. Then you can decide what to do with it. Me. Why should I trust you? Unknown. You shouldn't? But everything I've told you has been accurate, hasn't it? Check the address yourself if you don't believe me. Tyler Ashford, 2847 Maple Ridge Drive, Unit 12. He drives a silver Audi A4, license plate JKM4782. The level of detail was staggering. This wasn't casual knowledge, this was surveillance-level information. Either my mystery messenger had been following Tyler, or they had access to resources I couldn't begin to guess at. Jessica's footsteps creaked across the bedroom floor above me. I heard her blow dryer start up. I opened a new browser tab and typed the address into a property search site. It came up immediately. A modern apartment complex on the north side of town. One of those places with a gym and a pool and granite countertops in every unit. The kind of place a single guy with a decent job might choose. The kind of place that was definitely not 40 minutes away in some distant suburb. The kind of place my wife could reach in 15 minutes from her office. I pulled up the satellite view and studied the layout. The complex had underground parking and multiple entrances. Good security, probably, which meant I couldn't just walk in and knock on his door even if I wanted to. Not that I was planning to do that. Was I? The blow dryer shut off. Jessica would be down soon, ready to start dinner or ask about my day or suggest we watch something together after Emma went to bed. She'd smile at me with those brown eyes that had once made me feel like the luckiest man alive, and I'd have to smile back and pretend everything was fine. I was getting better at that part, the pretending. My phone buzzed one more time. Unknown. Tomorrow's Friday. She doesn't have any plans with him on Fridays. Those are family nights, right? So tomorrow you can drive by his place. See where your wife goes when she's supposed to be at conferences. See what you're really dealing with. Unknown. Then next Thursday, you'll know exactly what to do. I didn't respond. I just sat there in my home office, surrounded by the architectural drawings and family photos that had once represented everything I'd built, everything I'd worked for. Now they felt like props in a stage play, scenery that looked real from the audience but was just painted plywood up close. Honey? Jessica's voice drifted down the stairs. Did you want to order pizza tonight? I'm too tired to cook. Sure, I called back, and my voice sounded perfectly normal. Perfectly fine. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. That's what I'd been saying for 12 years, wasn't it? Whatever makes you happy. Whatever works for you. I'd been so focused on being a good husband, a good provider, working those extra hours to save for Disney World and Emma's college fund and Jessica's dream of opening her own practice someday, that I'd never stopped to wonder if maybe I should have been paying more attention to what was happening right in front of me. Or maybe I had noticed, and I'd just chosen not to see it. How many times had she said she was working late? How many conferences had there been? How many evenings had I come home to an empty house with a note on the counter saying she'd be back by 9, don't wait up? I trusted her. That was the thing that kept stabbing at me, over and over. I'd trusted her completely without question, because that's what you did when you love someone. You gave them the benefit of the doubt. You believed them when they said they had to work late or attend a seminar or meet with a vendor. You didn't check their credit card statements or search their desk drawers or imagine them in a hotel room with someone else. But maybe you should have. Jessica appeared in the doorway, her hair still damp, wearing yoga pants and one of my old college sweatshirts. She looked comfortable, happy, like a woman who had nothing to hide. You okay? She asked. You look tired. Just a long day, I said. Project deadline coming up. She walked over and kissed the top of my head, her hand resting briefly on my shoulder. You work too hard. Maybe we should plan a weekend away soon, just the two of us. Emma could stay with my parents. A weekend away, just the two of us. The irony was so thick I could taste it. Yeah, I said. That sounds nice. She squeezed my shoulder and headed back toward the kitchen, already pulling out her phone to order the pizza. I watched her go. This woman I'd shared a life with for over a decade. This stranger who kept secrets in bottom drawers and marked men with emojis I'd never seen before. Tomorrow was Friday. Family night. Just like my anonymous friend had said. We'd probably watch a movie, make popcorn, let Emma stay up a little late because it was the weekend. We'd be the perfect suburban family, at least from the outside. And then, when I got the chance, I'd drive to 2847 Maple Ridge Drive and see exactly what my wife had been building while I was busy building a future for us. Knowledge is power, the message had said. I was about to get a whole lot more powerful. The GPS showed 23 minutes to Tyler Ashford's address. I'd told Jessica I needed to run to the office to grab some blueprints for tomorrow's meeting. A lie that came easier than it should have. She'd barely looked up from her phone, just waved absently while Emma practiced her spelling words at the kitchen table. The drive took me through neighborhoods that grew progressively nicer. By the time I turned onto Maple Ridge Drive, the modest colonials had given way to new construction townhomes with manicured lawns and two-car garages. The kind of place a guy in his late 20s with a decent sales job might afford if he didn't have a family bleeding him dry. Number 2847 sat at the end of a cul-de-sac. The silver Audi was parked in the driveway, exactly as promised. I drove past slowly, cataloging details the way I'd been trained to assess building sites. Second-floor corner unit. Balcony with a gas grill. Lights on in what looked like the living room. A bicycle chained to the railing. Expensive. The kind of road bike that cost more than my monthly car payment. I parked 3 buildings down, engine running, and pulled out my phone. "He's home," I texted the unknown number. The response came within seconds. "Good. Now you know where to find him when you need to." What am I supposed to do with this information? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Whatever you want. But I'd suggest waiting. Thursday's coming. Wouldn't you rather catch them together? My hands tightened on the steering wheel. The thought of walking up to that door, of confronting this stranger who'd been sleeping with my wife for 8 months, made my pulse hammer in my ears. But the messenger was right. Confronting Tyler now would only tip my hand. Jessica would know I knew, and whatever slim advantage I had would evaporate. "Who are you?" I typed again, knowing I wouldn't get a real answer. "Someone who's been exactly where you are." That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting tonight. Go home to your family. Act normal. Thursday. Everything changes. I stared at the lit windows of 2847 Maple Ridge Drive for another 5 minutes, memorizing the layout, the surroundings, the neighboring units. An older woman walked past with a small dog, glancing at my idling car with mild suspicion. I pulled away before she could get a good look at my license plate. The drive home felt longer than the drive there. My mind kept circling back to the same questions. What did Tyler know about me? Had Jessica told him about Emma? About our life together? Did he think I was some oblivious husband too stupid to notice his wife's absence? Or did he know she was lying to me every Thursday while I worked overtime to pay for a vacation that would probably never happen now? The house was dark, except for the porch light when I pulled into the driveway. 9:47 p.m., later than I'd intended. I grabbed an old set of blueprints from the trunk, the ones from the Riverside project we'd finished last year, and carried them inside like props in a play I hadn't auditioned for. Jessica was curled up on the couch with her laptop, still in her work scrubs. She looked up when I came in, offering a tired smile that might have been genuine or might have been practiced. I couldn't tell anymore. "Find what you needed?" she asked. "Yeah. Sorry it took so long. Couldn't remember which cabinet I'd filed them in." "Emma's already asleep. She tried to wait up for you, but I sent her to bed at 9. Guilt twisted in my chest. The real kind. Not the manufactured version Jessica had probably been perfecting for months. "I'll check on her." I climbed the stairs to Emma's room, pushing open the door just enough to see her sprawled across her bed, one arm hanging off the side, her nightlight casting shadows across her face. She looked so much like Jessica at that age, based on the photos I'd seen. Same nose, same way of sleeping like gravity had given up on her. What would I tell her when this all came apart? How do you explain to an 11-year-old that her mother had been lying to everyone? That the family she thought was solid had been rotting from the inside for 8 months? I pulled her blanket up over her shoulders and closed the door softly. When I came back downstairs, Jessica had moved to the kitchen. She was making tea, her back to me as she waited for the kettle to boil. "Want some?" she asked without turning around. "No, thanks." "You've been working too hard lately. You look exhausted." The irony wasn't lost on me. "Just trying to make sure we can afford that Disney trip. Emma won't be 11 forever." Jessica turned then, leaning against the counter with an expression I'd seen 1,000 times before, affection mixed with mild exasperation. "She'd be just as happy camping in our backyard. You know that, right?" "Maybe, but she deserves better than the backyard." "You're a good dad." She said it simply, like it was an observable fact, like she hadn't been systematically dismantling our family every Thursday for the past 8 months. The kettle whistled. She poured hot water over a tea bag, the domestic normalcy of it all making my skin crawl. How many times had we stood in this kitchen together, having these mundane conversations, while she counted down the hours until her next hotel reservation? My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, angling the screen away from Jessica. "Don't forget, act normal, you're doing great." I shoved the phone back in my pocket, fighting the urge to throw it across the room. "Everything okay?" Jessica asked, blowing on her tea. "Just a client, nothing urgent." She nodded, taking a sip. "I'm going to head up in a few minutes, early day tomorrow." "Yeah, me too." But I didn't follow her upstairs. Instead, I waited until I heard the bedroom door close, then pulled out my phone again and opened the photos I'd taken of the credit card statements. I scrolled through them slowly, matching dates to my calendar, to Jessica's supposed conference schedule, to the overtime shifts I'd volunteered for because I thought I was building something. February 14th. Valentine's Day. I'd worked late finishing the Thompson building proposal. She'd texted me around 7 saying she was grabbing dinner with a girlfriend from work. The credit card showed a charge at Bellini's, the Italian place downtown with the prix fixe menu and wine pairings, $247. I'd brought home flowers the next day. She'd put them in a vase and kissed me and said she loved me. March 3rd. Emma's school play. Jessica had said she'd meet me there after a late patient appointment. She'd arrived 20 minutes after it started, slipping into the seat beside me with an apologetic whisper about traffic. The credit card showed a hotel charge that afternoon. She'd showered and changed and sat next to me watching our daughter sing in the chorus, and I'd never suspected a thing. April 12th. Our anniversary. We'd gone to dinner at the steakhouse we always went to, the one where they knew our order before we sat down. She'd given me a watch. Nothing expensive, but thoughtful. The card had said something about time being precious, about not taking each other for granted. 2 days later, she'd charged $463 at the boutique hotel downtown. My phone buzzed again. "Stop torturing yourself. Save it for Thursday." I typed back, "How do you know what I'm doing?" Because I did the same thing. Went through every receipt, every lie, trying to figure out when it started. When they stopped being the person you married, it doesn't help. Then what does? Making them pay. I sat in the dark kitchen for another hour, scrolling through evidence, making notes, building a timeline. The anonymous messenger was right, it didn't help, but I couldn't stop. Every charge, every lie, every Thursday she'd kissed me goodbye and driven 40 minutes to betray everything we'd built. I documented all of it. By the time I finally went upstairs, it was past midnight. Jessica was asleep, or pretending to be, curled on her side facing away from me. I undressed quietly and slid under the covers, keeping as much distance between us as the queen-sized mattress would allow. Thursday was 3 days away. I closed my eyes and started planning. The anonymous contact's last message glowed on my screen. Thursday, 2 p.m. Same hotel. Be ready. That was Monday evening. I had 3 days. 3 days to maintain the performance of my life while building an airtight case. 3 days to kiss my wife good morning, ask about her day, help Emma with homework, all while knowing exactly what Jessica was planning for Thursday afternoon. Tuesday morning, I woke before my alarm. Jessica was already in the shower, humming something I didn't recognize. The sound used to make me smile. Now it felt like nails on a chalkboard. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. Another message from 503-55-0147, time-stamped 6:47 a.m. Check her calendar. She's setting up her alibi right now. I opened Jessica's laptop on the kitchen counter while the coffee brewed. She never locked it. Why would she? I was her trusting husband. Her calendar application filled the screen. There it was. Thursday, 1 p.m. Lunch meeting. Dr. Patricia Vance. Practice partnership discussion. Dr. Vance was Jessica's mentor from dental school, now running a successful practice in Beaverton. They'd discussed partnership opportunities before, legitimate conversations about Jessica's future. The perfect cover story. Detailed enough to sound real, important enough that I wouldn't question it. I took a screenshot and texted it to the unknown number. The response came immediately. She'll mention it casually today or tomorrow. Act interested, supportive, ask questions. Coffee ready? Jessica appeared in yoga pants and one of my old college sweatshirts, hair wrapped in a towel. She looked beautiful. She looked like my wife. Just finished brewing. I poured 2 mugs, added cream to hers the way she liked. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. She accepted the mug, kissed my cheek. Her lips were warm. Been thinking about work stuff. Here it comes. Actually, I've been meaning to tell you, Patricia Vance wants to meet Thursday, lunch. She's finally serious about discussing partnership terms. Jessica's eyes brightened with what looked like genuine excitement. This could be it, you know? The chance we've been waiting for. The chance we've been waiting for. As if I'd been part of this dream, this plan. As if she hadn't been funding hotel rooms and expensive dinners while telling me we needed to be careful with money for Emma's braces. That's amazing, Jess. I pulled her into a hug, felt her relax against me. What time Thursday? 1 o'clock, probably a couple hours. You know Patricia, she'll want to go over everything in detail. She pulled back, studied my face. You're okay picking up Emma from school? Of course. This is important. I meant it differently than she heard it. Thank you. She kissed me again, longer this time. I love you. Love you too. The words tasted like ash. Tuesday afternoon, I left work early, told my project manager I had a dentist appointment. The irony wasn't lost on me. I drove to a photography shop downtown, the kind that still existed for professionals and serious hobbyists. The teenager behind the counter barely looked up from his phone when I entered. Help you? I need a camera. Small, discreet. Good quality video and photos. Something I can set up and leave running. Now he looked interested. Like a security camera? Something like that? 20 minutes later, I walked out with a compact camera no bigger than a deck of cards, motion activated, with a battery life of 8 hours and Wi-Fi connectivity. The kid had thrown in a magnetic mount and shown me how to access the feed remotely through an app. Popular model, he'd said. Lots of people use them for home security, or, checking on babysitters and stuff. Or checking on wives. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. The unknown number. Good thinking. But you won't need it Thursday. Trust me. You'll want to be there in person. A chill ran through me despite the afternoon heat. How did they know what I'd just purchased? Were they watching me right now? I scanned the street, the storefronts, the parked cars. Nothing obvious. No one paying attention. Who are you? I typed back. Someone who knows what it's like to be betrayed. Someone who believes in justice. Why me? Why are you doing this? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally. Because you deserve the truth, and because she deserves consequences. Thursday, 7 p.m. The Ashford will be there at 1:30. She'll arrive at 2, room 412. Same room as always. How do you know all this? Does it matter? You'll see for yourself in 2 days. Wednesday evening, Jessica worked late, or claimed to. She texted at 6:15 p.m. Inventory running long. Grab takeout for you and Emma? I ordered pizza, helped Emma with her math homework, watched her practice dribbling in the backyard while the sky turned purple. Normal dad things? Normal evening. Except I kept checking Jessica's location on Find My Friends. She was at the dental office, exactly where she said she'd be. The blue dot didn't move for 3 hours. She came home at 9:30, exhausted, smelling like the mint-scented hand soap from work. Kissed Emma goodnight, collapsed on the couch beside me. Long day, she sighed, resting her head on my shoulder. Tomorrow will be better. I stroked her hair, felt her breathing slow. Big meeting with Patricia. I'm nervous. Her voice was small, vulnerable. What if she doesn't think I'm ready? The performance was flawless. If I didn't know better, I'd believe every word. You're ready, I said. You've worked so hard for this. She tilted her face up, eyes searching mine. Have I told you lately how lucky I am to have you? Something cracked inside my chest. Not my resolve. That was solid steel now. Something else. Some last fragment of the man I'd been 5 days ago, the one who would have melted at those words. I'm the lucky one, I lied. We went to bed early. She fell asleep within minutes, curled against me like she had for 12 years. I stared at the ceiling, listening to her breathe, planning tomorrow. My phone vibrated silently on the nightstand. I carefully extracted myself from Jessica's embrace, grabbed it, retreated to the bathroom. Tomorrow changes everything. Here's what you need to do. The message included detailed instructions, times, locations, what to bring, what to say. Reading it felt like reviewing architectural blueprints, precise, methodical, designed for a specific outcome. At the bottom, bring your wedding ring. You'll understand why. I looked at the gold band on my left hand. 12 years. I'd never taken it off, not once since our wedding day. Jessica had the same ring, feminine version, which she wore even when scrubbing in at work. One more thing, the contact added. She's going to tell you she loves you tomorrow morning, multiple times. She always does before these meetings. Guilt, maybe? Or insurance. Either way, remember that when you see them together. I returned to bed, slipped under the covers. Jessica mumbled something in her sleep, reached for me. Her hand found mine, squeezed gently. Tomorrow, I thought. Tomorrow everything ends. Thursday morning arrived with deceptive normalcy. Sunshine through the bedroom curtains, Emma's alarm blaring down the hall, the smell of coffee Jessica had preset the night before. I found her in the kitchen, already dressed for work in navy scrubs, her hair pulled back in that familiar ponytail. She was packing her lunch, turkey sandwich, apple, granola bar. The same lunch she'd packed 1,000 times. Morning, she said brightly. Too brightly. I made extra coffee. Thanks. I poured a cup, watched her move around the kitchen. Efficient, practiced, comfortable in her routine. In her lies. Emma thundered downstairs, backpack dragging. Mom, can Olivia come over this weekend? Sure, sweetie, we'll figure it out. Jessica glanced at the clock. You need to eat breakfast. Bus comes in 20 minutes. Normal family morning. Normal family life. Jessica caught my eye across the kitchen island. I love you, she said, just like the contact predicted. Thank you for being so supportive about today. I love you too. The words came automatically now, muscle memory. Good luck with Patricia. I'll text you after. She grabbed her purse, keys, travel mug, kissed Emma's head, then mine. Pick up Emma at 3. I'll be there. She paused at the door, turned back. I really do love you. You know that, right? Insurance, the contact had said. Or guilt. I know, I told her. The door closed. Her car started. She backed out of the driveway, waved through the windshield. I waved back. My phone buzzed. See you at 2 p.m., room 412. The door will be unlocked. Walk in quietly. I had 6 hours. I stood in the hotel parking lot for 20 minutes before I could make myself go inside. The building was exactly what the website had promised. A converted brick warehouse with exposed beams and floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of place Jessica would screenshot and save to a folder labeled Someday. Except she'd been here every Thursday for 2 months. Not someday. Every week. My phone buzzed at 1:47 p.m. 4th floor. Room 412. Door at the end of the hall. You have 13 minutes. I looked down at my left hand. The gold band caught the afternoon light, same as it had for 12 years. The anonymous contact had told me to bring it. I still didn't understand why. Why the ring? The response came immediately. You'll know when you need it. Go now. The lobby was designed for discretion. No front desk visible from the entrance. Just a sleek black podium with a tablet and a bored-looking attendant who didn't look up from his phone as I walked past. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers. The elevator was tucked behind a wall of vertical gardens, the kind of detail Jessica would have pointed out with delight if we'd been here together. If? What a word that had become. The elevator climbed slowly. I watched the numbers tick upward and tried to remember how to breathe normally. 2nd floor. 3rd floor. My reflection in the polished steel doors showed a man I barely recognized. Jaw tight, eyes hollow, wearing the same blue button-down I'd put on this morning while Jessica kissed my cheek and told me she'd be home by 5. 4th floor. The hallway was empty and silent, carpeted in charcoal gray that swallowed footsteps. Framed black and white photographs lined the walls. Portland bridges, rain-slicked streets, couples embracing under umbrellas. Room 408, room 410. Room 412 was at the end, exactly as promised. I stood outside the door and checked my phone. 1:58 p.m. Door will be unlocked. Don't knock. Walk in quietly. Close the door behind you. Stay silent. My hand shook as I reached for the handle. Some distant part of my brain registered that this was insane. Walking into a hotel room based on instructions from someone I'd never met. Someone who knew everything about my life but wouldn't tell me their name. This could be anything. A trap, a setup, a sick joke. But I'd seen the credit card statements. I'd stood outside Tyler Ashford's apartment. I'd watched Jessica apply lipstick this morning and lie directly to my face about lunch with Dr. Patricia Vance. I turned the handle. The door opened silently. The room was dim, blackout curtains drawn, only slivers of afternoon light cutting through the gaps. It took my eyes a moment to adjust. King bed with white linens, still made. 2 wing-back chairs by the window. A bottle of wine on the dresser, unopened. Empty. I stepped inside and eased the door closed behind me, heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. The bathroom door was ajar, dark inside. No sounds. No movement. My phone buzzed. Closet on your right. Door slides open. Get inside. Leave it cracked just enough to see the bed. Do not make a sound no matter what you hear. The closet was shallow, meant for hanging a few coats. I slid the door open carefully. It moved on smooth tracks, barely a whisper. Inside, it smelled like cedar and the faint chemical scent of dry cleaning. I stepped in and pulled the door nearly closed, leaving a gap maybe 2 inches wide. Through the gap, I could see most of the bed and the room's entrance. I checked the time. 2:01 p.m. The minutes crawled. I tried to stay perfectly still, but my legs started to cramp. I shifted my weight as quietly as possible. The closet was warm, airless, sweat collected at my collar. 2:04 p.m. What if they weren't coming? What if Jessica had changed her mind, or Tyler had canceled, or a keycard beeped at the door? My entire body went rigid. The door swung open and Jessica walked in, laughing at something someone behind her said. She wore a navy dress I'd never seen before, her hair down around her shoulders instead of the ponytail she'd had this morning. Heels instead of the flats she'd left the house in. Tyler Ashford followed her inside. He looked exactly like his LinkedIn photo. Tall, athletic build, dark hair styled with too much product. Wearing a gray suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. He kicked the door closed behind him without looking, his attention entirely on my wife. Telling me I need to diversify the portfolio, Jessica was saying, setting her purse on the dresser. Like I don't know what I'm doing with my own money. He's just trying to help? Tyler's voice was smooth, easy. The voice of someone who'd never had to work overtime to afford a vacation. I don't need his help. I need him to stop hovering over every decision I make. Jessica turned and Tyler's hands were immediately on her waist, pulling her close. I stopped breathing. Poor baby, Tyler murmured, and then he kissed her. Not a peck, not a brief touch. A kiss that made it clear this wasn't new, wasn't tentative, wasn't the beginning of anything. Jessica's hands went to his chest, then his shoulders, then into his hair. She made a small sound that I recognized, that I'd thought was mine alone. They broke apart, and Jessica smiled up at him. I have to be home by 5. Emma has soccer at 6. That gives us almost 3 hours. Tyler's hands moved to the zipper at the back of her dress. I wanted to look away. Every instinct screamed to close my eyes, to not see this, to preserve some tiny fragment of the marriage I'd thought we had. But I couldn't move. Could barely think. Could only watch through the 2-inch gap as Tyler unzipped my wife's dress and she stepped out of it, revealing black lingerie I'd never seen. New? Tyler asked, running a finger along the lace edge. I told you I went shopping last week. Jessica's voice had changed, become lower, playful in a way that made my stomach turn. Do you like it? I love it. But I'm going to love taking it off more. They moved toward the bed. I pressed my hand against my mouth, terrified I might make a sound. A gasp, a sob, something that would reveal me. My wedding ring pressed cold against my lips. You'll know when you need it. Jessica lay back against the white pillows, her dark blonde hair fanning out exactly the way it did in our bed at home. Tyler leaned over her, and she pulled him down, and I watched my wife kiss another man with an enthusiasm she hadn't shown me in months, maybe years. I missed you, she breathed between kisses. It's only been a week and I missed you. I saw you Tuesday, at the office. That doesn't count, that's work. Her hands were working at his belt. This is us. Tyler caught her wrists, pinned them gently above her head. Tell me what you want. You. I want you. What about him? The question hung in the air. Through the gap, I could see Jessica's face clearly, flushed, eyes bright, lips swollen from kissing. What about him? She said, and laughed. He's working late, again, like always. He thinks providing is the same as being present. The words hit like a physical blow. Does he suspect anything? Tyler released her wrists, traced a line down her throat. God, no. He's completely oblivious. I could probably tell him to his face and he'd find a way to rationalize it. Jessica arched into Tyler's touch. He trusts me. It's actually kind of sad. You feel guilty? I did, at first. Her hands were back in his hair. But then I realized, why should I? I've been the perfect wife for 12 years. Perfect mother. I work full-time, I handle all the household management, I plan everything, I remember everything. And what does he do? Shows up, plays with Emma for an hour, thinks he's father of the year. So this is what you deserve. This is what I deserve, Jessica agreed, and pulled him down to kiss her again. I couldn't watch anymore. I looked down at my hands, at the gold band on my left finger, and understood finally what the anonymous contact had meant. You'll know when you need it. I needed to remember what I was fighting for, what I was about to lose, what had already been taken from me. My phone vibrated silently in my pocket. I pulled it out, careful to keep the screen angled away from the gap in the closet door. You've seen enough. Wait until they're occupied. Then leave quietly. Meet me at the coffee shop across the street. We need to talk about what happens next. I looked back through the gap one last time. Tyler was removing Jessica's bra while she laughed at something he whispered. The black lace fell to the floor next to her dress. I slid the closet door open inch by careful inch, timing each movement to their sounds. When I was sure they were too distracted to notice, I stepped out and moved toward the room's entrance, each footfall silent on the thick carpet. Behind me, Jessica moaned my rival's name. I opened the door, stepped into the hallway, and pulled it closed with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything I'd built. I pushed through the coffee shop door at 3:47 p.m., my phone clutched in one hand, wedding ring heavy in my pocket. The place smelled like burnt espresso and vanilla syrup, one of those aggressively trendy spots with exposed brick and Edison bulbs dangling from the ceiling. A woman sat alone in the back corner booth. I recognized her immediately, though we'd never met. Dark hair pulled into a severe bun, sharp features, expensive-looking blazer over a white blouse. She had a laptop open in front of her, but her eyes were on me. Waiting. I walked over, my legs moving on autopilot while my brain tried to process what I was seeing. Mr. Brennan, she said quietly. Not a question. She gestured to the seat across from her. Please. I slid into the booth, studying her face. Mid-30s, maybe, composed, the kind of person who'd spent years learning not to show emotion. You know my name. I know everything about you. She closed the laptop with a soft click. Your wife graduated from Portland State in 2009. You proposed at Cannon Beach. Emma was born 3 weeks early at Providence. You refinanced your mortgage last year at 3.2%. She paused. Tyler Ashford started working for Cascade Dental Supply in February. Jessica met him at a vendor showcase in March. They had coffee first. Just coffee, then lunch. Then a Thursday afternoon that turned into something else. My throat felt tight. Who are you? Someone who understands what you're feeling right now. She reached into a leather bag beside her and pulled out a manila folder. My name is Natalie Crowley. Tyler Ashford was engaged to my sister. Was. The word hung in the air between us. Was, I repeated. Until 8 months ago. Natalie opened the folder, turning it so I could see. A photograph. A young woman with bright red hair and a wide smile. Her arm around Tyler's waist at what looked like a beach somewhere. My sister Kelsey. She and Tyler were supposed to get married last month, June 14th. I stared at the photo. The woman looked happy. Genuinely, radiantly happy. Tyler looked the same as he had an hour ago. Handsome, confident, the kind of guy who probably never questioned whether he deserved good things. What happened? Jessica happened. Natalie's voice stayed level, but something flickered behind her eyes. Kelsey started noticing the same things you probably did. Tyler working late. Thursday meetings that ran long. New cologne. He got sloppy, left his phone unlocked one night. She found everything. I thought about Jessica's bottom drawer, the hidden credit card statements, the meticulous record-keeping that had finally betrayed her. When? April, 2 months into their affair. Natalie pulled out another document, printed text messages, the same green and gray bubbles I'd been staring at for days. Kelsey confronted him. He admitted it, said it was just physical, that it didn't mean anything, all the usual garbage cheaters say when they get caught. Did she leave him? She tried. Natalie's jaw tightened. He begged, promised to end it, went to therapy, did the whole remorseful act. She wanted to believe him. They postponed the wedding, agreed to work on things. She slid another photo across the table. Tyler and the redhead again, this time at what looked like a counseling office, both of them holding hands. This was taken in early May. I picked up the photo. Tyler's face showed the right amount of contrition, humble, ashamed, ready to do better. He never stopped seeing Jessica, I said, never even slowed down. Natalie pulled out a spreadsheet, hotel charges, restaurant receipts, all dated and highlighted. He just got better at hiding it. Kelsey found out 3 weeks before the wedding. She'd hired a private investigator by then, someone who followed him to that same boutique hotel you were in today. She paused. She saw them together. Watched your wife kiss him goodbye in the parking garage. The coffee shop suddenly felt too warm. I loosened my collar, trying to breathe normally. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Get angry. Natalie leaned forward. Kelsey called off the wedding, lost the deposits, had to tell everyone, dealt with the humiliation. Tyler didn't care. He had Jessica, your wife, who told him she was in a loveless marriage, that you didn't appreciate her, that she was planning to leave you anyway. That matched what I'd heard in the hotel room. The casual dismissal, the mockery. Planning to leave me, I said slowly. When? After she opens her own practice. Natalie pulled out more documents, business plans, loan applications, partnership agreements. She's been working on it for months. Tyler's company is one of her planned suppliers. They've discussed him leaving Cascade, starting his own distribution business, building something together. I scanned the papers. Jessica's handwriting filled the margins, notes, calculations, timelines. Our joint savings account balance appeared in several places. The house equity, Emma's college fund. She's going to use our money, I said. Every penny she can get. Natalie tapped a highlighted section. She's consulted with a divorce attorney already. Filed nothing yet, but she's got a strategy. Claims you work too much, that she's the primary parent, that she deserves the house because Emma needs stability. My hands started shaking. I pressed them flat against the table. How do you know all this? Because I've been watching them for 2 months. Natalie pulled out her phone, swiped through a photo gallery. After Kelsey broke down, I decided someone needed to document what they were doing. I hired the same investigator, got access to Tyler's email. He uses the same password for everything, idiot. Found Jessica's business plans in his sent folder. They're not careful when they think no one's paying attention. She showed me photo after photo. Jessica and Tyler at restaurants, walking into the hotel, kissing in his car, meeting with what looked like business associates, each image time-stamped and geotagged. You sent me everything, I said. I needed you to see it, to understand what you're dealing with. Natalie put her phone away. Kelsey wanted to move on, forget about it, let them have each other. But I couldn't. Because it's not just about the cheating. It's about the calculation, the planning, the way they're both dismantling their lives while lying to everyone around them. I thought about Emma, about the Disney World trip Jessica had been planning, the birthday party, the casual affection she'd shown me this morning, kissing me goodbye before heading to work. What do you want from me? I asked. I want them to pay. Natalie's voice dropped. I want Jessica to lose everything she's planning to take from you. I want Tyler to face consequences for once in his privileged life. I want them exposed, humiliated, destroyed the same way they destroyed Kelsey. Revenge. Justice. She met my eyes. There's a difference. Revenge is emotional. Justice is strategic. I pulled out my wedding ring, set it on the table between us. The gold caught the light from those stupid Edison bulbs. You told me to bring this. Because you're going to put it back on. Natalie pushed it toward me. You're going to go home, kiss your wife, ask about her day. You're going to be the oblivious husband she thinks you are. And while you do that, we're going to build a case that ensures when you file for divorce, she gets nothing. How? Natalie opened her laptop again, turned it so I could see. A document filled the screen. Organized, detailed, devastating. Oregon is an equitable distribution state, not community property. That means assets get divided fairly, not necessarily equally. Judges consider a lot of factors, including marital misconduct, adultery, among other things. She scrolled down. Dissipation of marital assets, spending money on an affair, financial fraud, hiding credit cards, planning to drain accounts. We document everything. Every hotel charge, every gift, every lie. We show the court that Jessica has been systematically preparing to leave you while pretending to be a devoted wife. I scanned the document. It read like a legal brief, organized by category, supported with evidence, time-stamped and cross-referenced. You're a lawyer, I said. Family law, specializing in high-conflict divorce. Natalie smiled thinly. I've been doing this for 8 years. I know every trick, every loophole, every way a cheating spouse tries to hide assets or claim victimhood. And I'm very, very good at my job. You want to represent me. I want to destroy her case before she even files it. Natalie pulled out a business card, slid it across the table. But we do this my way, quietly, carefully. No confrontations, no dramatic scenes. You play the loving husband while we gather evidence. When the time is right, we file first. Catch her completely off guard. I picked up the card. Crowley and Associates. Family law. A downtown address. What about Tyler? Leave him to me. Something cold flickered across Natalie's face. He's got his own problems coming. Cascade Dental Supply has a morality clause in their employment contracts. Sleeping with clients violates it. Jessica's office uses them as a vendor. I've got documentation of their relationship affecting business decisions, preferential pricing, expedited orders. That's a fireable offense. Possibly criminal, depending on how deep we dig. I thought about Tyler's apartment, the expensive furniture, the view. He'll lose his job. He'll lose everything. Natalie closed her laptop. But that's secondary. Your priority is Emma, making sure Jessica doesn't get to play the devoted mother while she's been planning to blow up her daughter's life for a dental practice and a new boyfriend? Emma, my daughter, who still believed her parents loved each other, who was excited about Disney World and her 11th birthday and soccer season. I picked up my wedding ring, slid it back onto my finger. The metal felt foreign now, like something borrowed from a stranger's life. When do we start? I asked. Natalie smiled. We already have. 6 months later, I stood in Judge Catherine Walsh's courtroom while my attorney, Natalie Crowley, presented the final settlement terms. Jessica sat across the aisle with her lawyer, a tired-looking man named Robert Pierce, who'd spent the last 4 months trying to salvage an unsalvageable case. The evidence had been overwhelming. Every hotel receipt, every lie documented, the hidden credit card statements, text messages Natalie's investigator had obtained through legal discovery, business plans that showed Jessica had been preparing to drain our accounts and use marital assets to fund a practice with Tyler as her partner. The judge had not been sympathetic. Mrs. Brennan, Judge Walsh said, peering over her reading glasses. Your conduct throughout this marriage, particularly in the final year, demonstrates a pattern of deception and financial manipulation that this court cannot ignore. Jessica kept her eyes down. She'd lost weight since I'd filed. Her hair was shorter, professional. She wore a conservative suit that probably cost more than she could afford now. Tyler wasn't in the courtroom. He'd stopped coming after the third hearing, once it became clear he might be called to testify. He'd lost his job at Cascade Dental Supply in August, 2 weeks after Natalie sent their corporate counsel a detailed report of his relationship with Jessica and the preferential treatment her office had received. The morality clause violation was ironclad. He'd hired his own attorney, tried to fight it, but the evidence was too solid. Last I heard, he was selling insurance in Seattle. Kelsey had sent Natalie a thank you card. The court awards primary custody to Mr. Brennan, Judge Walsh continued, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Brennan every other weekend, pending completion of family counseling. Jessica's shoulders shook. Her attorney put a hand on her arm. I felt nothing. That surprised me initially, but Natalie had warned me this would happen. You'll go numb, she'd said. It's a defense mechanism. The anger burns so hot for so long that eventually you just feel empty. She was right. Regarding asset division, the judge said, flipping through the settlement documents, Mr. Brennan retains the family home, his retirement accounts, and sole access to the college fund established for the minor child. Mrs. Brennan is responsible for all debts incurred on the credit card used during her extramarital affair, totaling approximately $47,000. Jessica had tried to claim those charges were marital debt. Natalie had demolished that argument with receipts, timestamps, and hotel records that proved every dollar was spent on her affair. Mrs. Brennan will pay child support in the amount of $800 per month, Judge Walsh continued. She is prohibited from introducing the child to any romantic partners without Mr. Brennan's written consent and 60 days' notice. She is also ordered to pay Mr. Brennan's legal fees in the amount of $32,000. The gavel came down. It was over. Emma adjusted better than I'd feared. She was angry at first. Angry at me for filing, angry at Jessica for lying, angry at the world for not being what she'd thought it was. We did therapy together, just the two of us, every Wednesday evening. Dr. Rachel Kim was patient and kind, and slowly Emma started to understand that sometimes adults make terrible choices, but that didn't mean she was any less loved. Mom made a mistake, Emma said one night while we were making dinner together. She was chopping vegetables for stir-fry, her movements careful and deliberate. But she's still my mom. She is, I agreed, and she loves you. That part was never fake. Do you still love her? I'd been expecting this question for months. I measured my words carefully. I love the person I thought she was, the person she was when we got married. But people change. Sometimes they become someone you don't recognize. Emma was quiet for a moment, the knife moving rhythmically against the cutting board. Tyler's gone, right? She's not seeing him anymore? No. That ended a long time ago. Shortly after I'd filed, actually. Tyler had cut contact once he realized Jessica was going to cost him everything. She'd tried to reach out to him, according to phone records Natalie had subpoenaed. He never responded. Some relationships only survive in secret, I'd learned. Expose them to daylight and they wither. Good, Emma said firmly. He was a jerk. She'd never met Tyler, but she'd formed strong opinions anyway. I didn't discourage them. We had dinner together every night now, just the two of us. We talked about school and soccer and the books she was reading. We watched movies on Friday nights. We were building something new from the wreckage of what had been destroyed. Not a replacement for the family we'd lost, but something honest. Something real. Jessica saw Emma every other Saturday, supervised visits at a family center downtown. Emma came home from those visits quiet and withdrawn, needing space to process. I gave it to her. Dr. Kim said that was normal, that Emma was grieving the mother she'd thought she had while learning to accept the one who actually existed. It would take time. We had time. I ran into Natalie at a coffee shop in November, 7 months after the divorce was finalized. Not the same place where she'd first revealed herself, neither of us would return there, but a quiet spot near my office where I'd started grabbing lunch. "Mr. Brennan," she said, and I noticed she was smiling. Genuinely smiling, not the sharp professional expression she'd worn throughout the case. "Please, it's David. The case is over." "David, then." She gestured to the empty chair at her table. "Join me?" I sat. She had a salad and a legal pad covered in notes, always working. "How's Emma?" she asked. "Getting there. Some days are harder than others." I stirred sugar into my coffee. "How's Kelsey?" "Engaged. Different guy, someone she met through work. He's good for her." Natalie's expression softened. "She's happy, really happy. It took a while, but she got there." "I'm glad." We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. The coffee shop hummed with lunchtime conversation around us. "I heard Jessica's working at a clinic in Gresham," Natalie said. "Hourly position, no ownership stake." I heard that too. Emma had mentioned it during one of their visits. Jessica had apparently cried while telling her about the job, about how different her life had turned out from what she'd planned. I felt nothing about that either. Maybe someday I'd feel something, pity, perhaps, or a distant sadness for the woman she'd once been. But not yet. The wound was still too fresh, even if it had gone numb. "Do you regret it?" Natalie asked quietly. "How hard we fought." I thought about that. About the scorched earth approach we'd taken. About Jessica's face in the courtroom when the judge read the settlement terms. About Emma's confusion and anger and grief. "No," I said finally. "She made her choices. She planned to destroy our family on her terms, take everything she could, and rewrite history to make herself the victim. We just made sure the truth came out first." Natalie nodded. "Justice, not revenge. Is there really a difference?" "I think so." She closed her legal pad. "Revenge is about making them hurt because you're hurting. Justice is about consequences, about making sure actions have appropriate outcomes. Jessica didn't lose everything because you wanted to punish her. She lost everything because she spent a year lying, stealing, and planning to abandon her family. The court recognized that. And Tyler. Tyler lost everything because he violated his employment contract and made business decisions based on personal relationships. Cause and effect." Natalie's smile turned sharp. "Though I won't pretend I didn't enjoy watching him squirm." I laughed despite myself. "Fair enough." "The question is," Natalie said, gathering her things, "what happens now? For you, I mean. You've got Emma, you've got the house, you've got your life back. What do you do with it?" I'd been asking myself that same question for months. The answer was still forming, still unclear, but the shape of it was starting to emerge. "I build something new," I said. "Something honest. I show Emma that you can survive betrayal without becoming bitter, that you can demand accountability without losing yourself. That trust, once broken, takes years to rebuild, but that doesn't mean you stop trusting everyone forever." "That's a good answer." Natalie stood, extended her hand. "Take care of yourself, David. And that little girl." "I will." I shook her hand. "Thank you. For everything." "You're welcome. Though between you and me?" She leaned in conspiratorially. "I should be thanking you. That case made my reputation. I've had 6 new clients in the last 3 months, all high-conflict divorces, all because word got around about how thoroughly we documented your wife's affair. So really, we helped each other." She left, and I sat alone with my coffee, watching the lunch crowd flow around me. People living their lives, carrying their own secrets and struggles and small betrayals. How many of them were like I'd been 6 months ago, trusting, oblivious, building futures on foundations that were already crumbling? How many of them would be sitting where I was now, someday, learning the same hard lessons? My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "Can Olivia sleep over Friday? Please, please, please." I smiled and typed back, "Sure, I'll order pizza." 3 dots appeared then. "You're the best dad ever." Not the best husband, apparently, but the best dad. For now, that was enough. A year after the divorce, I sold the house. Too many memories, too many rooms that echoed with the life we'd pretended to have. Emma and I moved into a smaller place closer to her school, a 3-bedroom townhouse with a backyard just big enough for her to practice soccer. She helped me pack up the old house. We sorted through 12 years of accumulated life. Wedding photos that went into storage, Emma's baby clothes that we donated, furniture that we kept or sold or gave away. It was archaeological work, excavating layers of a marriage that had looked solid from the outside, but had been hollow at its core. "Do you think you'll get married again?" Emma asked while we were boxing up the kitchen. She was 14 now, taller, her face losing its childhood roundness. "Maybe someday," I said honestly. "Not anytime soon." "Good. I'm not ready for a stepmom." "Neither am I." She taped up a box of dishes, her movements efficient. She'd grown up a lot in the past year. More serious, more guarded, but also stronger. She'd learned that families could break and you could survive it. That love wasn't always enough. That trust was precious because it was fragile. Hard lessons for a teenager, but maybe necessary ones. "Do you still hate Mom?" she asked. I stopped packing. I never hated her. I was angry for a long time. Hurt. Betrayed. But hate? I shook my head. Hate takes too much energy, and she's still your mother. You love her. That's okay. She asks about you sometimes, during our visits. What does she ask? If you're dating anyone, if you're happy, if you ever talk about her. Emma met my eyes. I think she regrets it. What she did? Probably. I resumed packing. But regret doesn't undo the damage. It doesn't give back what was taken. It's just regret. That's kind of sad. It is, I agreed. But it's also true. We finished packing in silence. The next day, movers came and loaded everything into a truck. I stood in the empty house one last time, looking at the bare walls and the lighter patches on the hardwood where furniture had stood for over a decade. This was where I'd carried Jessica over the threshold, where we'd brought Emma home from the hospital, where we'd celebrated birthdays and holidays and 1,000 ordinary evenings that had felt like building blocks of something permanent. It hadn't been permanent, but it had been real, at least for a while. Before the lies. Before Tyler. Before everything crumbled. I locked the door and handed the keys to the realtor. The townhouse was bright and modern and completely ours, mine and Emma's. No ghosts, no memories of betrayal. Just clean walls and empty rooms waiting to be filled with whatever came next. 3 years after the divorce, I ran into Jessica at Emma's high school graduation. She was sitting in the back row of the auditorium, alone. Her hair was longer now, streaked with gray she hadn't bothered to cover. She'd aged in the way people do when life doesn't go according to plan. Not badly, just differently than expected. Softer around the edges. More worn. I sat down next to her. She startled, then relaxed when she saw it was me. "David," she said quietly. "Jessica." On stage, Emma was lining up with her class, wearing her cap and gown, laughing with her friends. She'd gotten into Oregon State, full scholarship. She wanted to study architecture. Following in her old man's footsteps, she said, though she was quick to add that she'd do it better. I believed her. "She's beautiful," Jessica said, and her voice cracked slightly. "You did a good job with her." We both did. In the beginning. Jessica was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry. I know I've said it before, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry for what I did to you. To her. To us. I'd heard this apology before, in different forms. In emails I'd mostly ignored. In messages passed through Emma. In the family counseling sessions the court had mandated. Sometimes it sounded genuine. Sometimes it sounded like something she thought she was supposed to say. Today it sounded tired. Like she'd finally stopped trying to rewrite history and had accepted the truth of what she'd done. I know, I said. Do you forgive me? It was the first time she'd asked directly. I considered the question carefully. I don't know, I said honestly. I'm not angry anymore. I don't wish bad things for you. But forgiveness? That's a big word. It implies a kind of absolution I'm not sure I can give. That's fair. She wiped her eyes. Tyler reached out to me last year. Did Emma tell you? No. He wanted to try again. Said he'd made mistakes, that he'd grown up, that we could build something real this time. Jessica laughed bitterly. I told him no, blocked his number, because I finally understood what you probably knew all along. What we had wasn't real. It was just two people lying to themselves and everyone else. The ceremony began. We stood for the national anthem, sat for the speeches. Emma's name was called. She walked across the stage, accepted her diploma, smiled for the cameras. She'd asked both of us to be there, but separately. We'd respected that boundary. She's stronger than I was, Jessica said, as Emma returned to her seat. Smarter. She won't make the mistakes I made. No, I agreed. She'll make her own mistakes. Different ones. Will you tell her? Jessica stopped, started again. Will you tell her I'm proud of her? I tell her myself, but I don't know if she believes me. I'll tell her. The ceremony ended. Emma found us both in the crowd afterward, hugged me first, then Jessica. The hug she gave her mother was briefer, more reserved, but it was there. That was something. Pictures? Emma asked, looking between us uncertainly. Of course, I said. We posed together, me, Emma, and Jessica, while Emma's friend took photos on her phone. We smiled. We looked like a family, or at least like people who'd once been a family and had found a way to be civil. It wasn't what I'd imagined when Emma was born. It wasn't the future I'd planned. But it was real, and it was honest, and that counted for something. Jessica left shortly after. Emma and I went to dinner with her friends and their families, celebrating the end of high school and the beginning of whatever came next. Was it weird? Emma asked later, when it was just the two of us driving home. Seeing Mom? A little, I admitted. But okay, it was okay. She's different now. People change. Do you think she's happy? I thought about Jessica sitting alone in the back row, watching her daughter graduate from a distance. I think she's learning to live with her choices. That's not the same as happy, but it's something. Emma was quiet for a while. Then, I don't want to be like her. You're not. How do you know? Because you're honest, even when it's hard, even when it costs you something. You don't hide from consequences. I glanced at her. That's the difference between you and her. She spent a year lying because the truth was inconvenient. You tell the truth even when it hurts. Emma smiled slightly. You're biased. Completely, but I'm also right. 5 years after the divorce, I met someone. Her name was Lauren. She was a structural engineer I'd worked with on a commercial project. Divorced, like me. 2 kids from her previous marriage, both in college. We started as colleagues, became friends, eventually became something more. I told Emma before the first official date. She was home from college for the summer, working an internship downtown. Is she nice? Emma asked. Very. Does she know? About Mom and everything? Yes. I told her everything. That had been important to me. No secrets, no hidden history. Lauren deserved to know what she was getting into. What did she say? She said she was sorry that happened to me, and then she asked if I was ready to try again. Are you? I thought about that. About the years I'd spent rebuilding myself. About the therapy and the hard conversations and the slow process of learning to trust again. About the man I'd been before Jessica's betrayal and the man I'd become after. I think so, I said. It's scary, but I think I'm ready. Emma hugged me. Good. You deserve to be happy. So do you. I'm working on it. She pulled back, grinned. But if Lauren turns out to be evil, I reserve the right to say I told you so. Deal. Lauren wasn't evil. She was patient and kind and honest in a way that felt revolutionary after years of lies. We took things slowly. We introduced our kids carefully. We built something based on truth instead of illusion. It wasn't perfect. Some days I still flinched at unexpected phone notifications. Some nights I still woke up from dreams where I was standing in that hotel closet, watching my life disintegrate through a 2-inch gap. But those moments grew further apart. The scar tissue was thick now, protective. I'd survived the worst betrayal I could imagine, and I'd come out the other side intact. Different, certainly. More cautious, more guarded, but intact. That was worth something. 10 years after the divorce, Emma got married. She invited both of us, me and Jessica. Seated separately, no joint photos, but both present. Both witnesses to the life she'd built despite the wreckage of her childhood. Her partner was good, kind, honest. Someone who'd earned Emma's trust slowly and carefully, who understood that trust was something precious because it was fragile. I walked her down the aisle. Jessica cried in the back row. Lauren sat beside me, her hand in mine, steady and real. At the reception, Emma gave a speech thanking both her parents for teaching her important lessons, though she was diplomatic enough not to specify what those lessons were. Everyone laughed. I caught Jessica's eye across the room. She smiled sadly and raised her glass. Some wounds never fully heal. Some betrayals leave permanent marks. But life continues anyway. You build new things from the ruins of what was destroyed. You learn to trust again, carefully. You teach your children that love is real but also fragile, that honesty matters more than comfort, that actions have consequences that ripple forward through years. That night, dancing with Lauren while Emma and her new spouse swayed nearby, I realized I'd finally let go of the question that had haunted me for a decade. Why had Jessica done it? Why had she risked everything we'd built for Thursday afternoons with a man who abandoned her the moment she became inconvenient? The answer didn't matter anymore. People made choices. Sometimes those choices destroyed everything around them. You couldn't prevent it. You could only decide how to respond. I'd chosen to demand accountability, to protect my daughter, to rebuild with honesty instead of illusion, to eventually trust again, despite the risk. Jessica had chosen differently. She'd lost everything: her marriage, her home, her daughter's unconditional trust, her dreams of partnership and independence. She lived alone now, working a job she'd once considered beneath her, seeing Emma on holidays and special occasions, always from a distance. Those were her consequences. Not punishment, exactly. Just the natural outcome of her actions. Justice, not revenge. As Natalie had said all those years ago, cause and effect. The music played. Emma laughed. Lauren squeezed my hand. And I realized finally that I was happy. Not the naive happiness of before, when I'd believed love was enough and trust was automatic. A harder happiness. Earned. Built on truth instead of illusion. It had taken 10 years. It had cost everything I'd thought I was building. But I'd survived. Emma had survived. We'd both learned that you could be betrayed and still choose to trust again. that you could demand accountability without becoming bitter, that the end of one story was just the beginning of another. The wedding ended. Emma and her spouse left for their honeymoon. Lauren and I drove home together, her hand in mine, the future uncertain but honest. That was enough. That was everything.